Hey there, everyone. Today we are talking about Final Fantasy XII. Let me just get this right off the bat, right out of the way. I hate this game. I don't hate it. I just very strongly dislike it. Why is that? Well, first of all, I didn't actually fully complete this game. I did the full story, the full shebang, everything in it, and it was simply not worth it. And again, it's this weird dichotomy between the fact that I don't know, this game I think it has some of the best gameplay of the series. It's a combination between live action and turn based. It's very similar to Knights of the Old Republic and old BioWare games. And I feel like it's actually a really great combination because you'll be running through, the desert or the area, and you will basically attack and latch onto a certain enemy, and you'll auto attack, but then you can also start buffing your characters with really the moves that really matter, defensive things and other things like that. So despite this having the best gameplay in the entire series, more or less, what is bad about it? Well, basically everything else. The music even is kind of mid. The story is downright awful and forgettable, and the characters are just not great. So first of all, the game starts off. You can play as Princess Rose, or I actually forget her name. Princess Ash, rather. And so she basically has the intro thing, and a bunch of people die, and then it skips to the next part. And so this game is very much structured around, I'll just be honest about it, Star Wars. The fact that you have the Empire, beating down a bunch of, people who, come from the desert kind of area. And actually a lot of the themes and locations and kind of settings here can be seen in at least Final Fantasy XIV. I'm not sure about Final Fantasy XI. I know that came out obviously before this, and that was kind of a very odd MMO. And they said, okay, let's go back to, I guess, local single player. I'm not exactly sure what the development life cycle of 11 was, but that's the first time they tried an MMO, and it's very much in a similar style to this game. However, the next game they made was for consoles and single player, no online capabilities whatsoever. So, speaking about our characters, we have Vaughn and Penelo, I believe her name is. And they're kind of our first introductions, and they are useless. They do absolutely nothing. Vaughn, even though he's the main character, kind of, he doesn't feel like it at all. He just, watches things happen around him and gets carried on other adventures. The entire story just sucks. It's like the Empire is bad. We must defeat the Empire. The one thing that is cool, though, I will admit, is that the judges in this game, who are the main antagonists, have this very cool aesthetic where their armor usually has a face on it and kind of like a very distinct design with the horns. Again, it's a great design, but yeah, you just don't really, get to appreciate it, really. And again, they're just typical bad guys. I think the big twist is that the engineer in this game, Sid, his father is one of the judges. Wow, incredible. It's actually funny because a lot of the tropes I see in this game actually resemble the first expansion in the base game for Final Fantasy XIV. You basically have, the Ul'dah kind of, desert kind of city with all of its passageways and sewers and other things. You have the forest area of Gridania, and you have the concepts of the Empire and other things. The more I think about this, the more similar this game is to 14. 1.0 than a lot of other things, which is really, frankly, shocking and surprising. But yeah, 12's gameplay is just not fun. It's not good. It's tedious, and it's funny because I know a couple friends who basically are huge fans of 14 and thought, well, I'll give 12 a try. And as soon as they ended up with this, bare chested twink in the sewers with no personality, that's the thing. Van has no personality. It's really shocking how just of a sack of potatoes he is. And I guess that's kind of been almost the intent for a lot of Final Fantasy games, even like Cloud and Titus. Their point was that this is a empty-headed twink that you can self-insert into, I guess. And they're all blonde too. I don't know. They have some formula over there at Square Enix, and it's just not really working. But anyway, so she started playing this, and when she got to that point, she's like, "I cannot play this. I absolutely despise this game." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's not good. It's not fun." And this is one of the few games I think I actually forced myself to beat because the gameplay is serviceable enough. It's actually really fun to lock onto certain enemies, find out their strategy. It is honestly very fun to actually play. It's just everything about it just sucks. I even don't like the visual style of it. How everything looks hyper kind of realistic, but there's just bloom everywhere. And you're just stuck with Van and Pamelo for like the first part of this game. It just sucks. Some of the other characters are kind of more interesting. There's Balthier, the bounty hunter, I think, and his assistant. Oh God, what's her name? I forget her name, but it's the Vieira he's with, obviously. And she speaks in this sexy little like Russian accent. Like everyone loves her, and if I could just remember her name. But yeah, people love that character. And of course the Vieira became a staple in future games, and definitely in 14 Vieira were. Yeah, it's interesting how they imported their mechanics from an MMO and put it into a single player game, and it kind of works really well. Honestly, I still really like it just because it's just very fluid for some reason. And it feels like you can better manage your party when they're auto-attacking. And it feels, basically like you are working in a live action game with some turn-based mechanics in the background. But anyway, besides Balthier, there's also Princess Ashe and Captain Bash von Ronsenberg. And of course, the Mega 64 did a skit where that was the one mechanic they decided to joke about, where they went around just yelling that to people randomly. And it's weird too. Like when you actually get to that part in the game, like you've been playing normally, and you basically press like circle to tell people about Captain Bosch to raise up, and you have a reputation meter that once the reputation meter is full, then people now believe in this character is back from the grave essentially, and that's part of that mission. But the rest of this game, I'll be honest, I don't really remember it. It is not memorable. There's a bunch of politics, kind of. There are 4 different judges that you have to fight. One of them is a woman. Again, everything just feels... I'm kind of shocked how I never realized how similar this game was to 14 base game. But yeah, I guess there it is. There's also tribes of these monsters, which also appear in 14, and they kind of operate in the same kind of manner. Instead of a sphere tree like in 10, we now have like this giant like grid, which lets you upgrade all your things. I remember like upgrading and like, switching out your weapons and getting better weapons was actually pretty fun, but like that's a kind of a standard thing in a JRPG. So yeah, I wish I had something more positive and fun to say about this game, but besides the gameplay is good, but everything else honestly is not good. Even the music when you're in these big areas and you're just fighting hordes of monsters is not great. It's like an MMO brought to single player. I think that's my major takeaway from this kind of game. Yeah, I honestly do not have anything else to say. There was that character Prince Larsa who was kinda cool. But yeah, this is really a game where is very kind of forgettable. It's weird, I guess, to play it and try it out. But I would just honestly go play 14, honestly, if you're going to bother playing this. Even then, I think this actually is better than 14's base game, just mechanically. Again, the gameplay is actually really good. But anyway, that's Final Fantasy 12. Boo. Bye. Goodbye. Bad.